Operations meeting come to order, April 25th. Let's have one meeting, people.
What's all going on over here?
We're being recorded. We're being recorded. Thank you. All right. Could you please read the minutes that we have? Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes as presented? I'll entertain a motion.
I accept the meeting. I suggest you accept the meeting.
Motion by John Gregg, seconded by John Hess. Could we have a roll call, please?
Here.
Sorry, Joanne. Should be up. There you go.
There we go. Okay. John Gregg.
Yeah.
Ruth Dries.
Here.
Joyce Reese.
Here.
Richard Handelsman is absent. John Hess.
Here.
Olga Wolkenstein is absent. Bobby Levin.
Here.
David Fornes.
Here.
David Israel's absent. Edward Grossman is absent. Dominic Granacci is absent. Stuart Richland is absent. Fausto.
Here.
Patricia. I'm here. And David Bowes. Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Joanne. Miss Monica. You're up.
Good afternoon, everybody. I thought,
Well, what I would say is that I sent out an
email, we have Kevin Gomez, who's the mechanical engineer for the HVAC project. He was to present first because he has to be somewhere else, got held up on the road. So
Okay.
I don't know if Dan went out there to meet him, to bring him in, but if he comes, then we'll just stop where Monica, there, and then we'll,
Okay.
Miss Monica always goes first.
The boringest part of the meeting, right?
No, it's the best.
Good afternoon, everybody. This afternoon, you're looking at the statement of operations for the 4 months ended February 28th. So for the month of February, our total revenue was $721,000. The total expenses for the month, $721,000. So we had a loss of $129. Year to date for the 4 months, total revenue is $2,771,000. You'll notice that included in that is reserve revenues of $884,000, which is the funds used from reserves to fund the HVAC project, as well as the project that's coming near an end up on the outside of the card room upstairs, the walkway
Catwalk.
outside, the catwalk, right, the emergency repairs that have been going on there. So the total expenses for the 4 months are $2,893,000. So year to date, we have a loss of $122,000. For that period, we had budgeted a loss of $306,000. So we have a positive variance of $184,000. If you look down the right-hand side, you'll see the largest variance under income is, of course, the reserve revenues, because when we did the budget back in August, we thought we would be completely finished with the HVAC project by the end of the year. Well, we know that never happened, and here we are, all these months later, still not finished. If you continue to go down the expenses, you'll see the bulk of these line items that have brackets around them indicate we're coming in under budget year to date. The largest one that's over budget, of course, is repairs and maintenance, and again, that's the HVAC and the catwalk project. At the bottom of the page is your social activity summary. Theater income for the month of February, $60,000, with dances, $2,800, so $62,600 in revenue. For your theater, dances, and movies, we spent $61,874, so we have a profit of $736,000. Year-to-date for theater and dances, our revenue is $156,000. We spent for theater, dances, and movies $181,000, so we have a loss of $25,000. Next column over, we had budgeted a loss of $63,000, so we have a positive variance of $38,000. Any questions? Okay. Next report is our cash balances. As of February 28th, our total operating funds were $887,000. Our windstorm reserves, $461,000, and the contingency and infrastructure improvement reserves, $139,000. Total reserves, $600,000. Total available cash, $1,488,000. Questions? Okay. The next report is your social activity summary, and this is for the month of March. So during March, you'll see there were 5,833 tickets sold for theater performances. We collected $71,000. When we deduct our audience view cost and our sales tax, our net sales are $62,500. We paid the performers $85,125. So we have a loss of $22,600. For your Saturday night dances, which ended at the end of March, we had 805 people attending your Saturday night dances. We paid $1,390 for the DJs. For your movies, there were 4 movies during March. 1,030 people attended your movies, and we paid $1,284. So you'll see at the very bottom, when you combine your theater, dances, and movies, the loss for the month, $25,000. So now we all know dances have moved to Friday nights.
Mhm.
Does that seem to be popular?
Yes.
Good. Okay. The next report is,
Sounds like an elevator music.
the next report is revenue collected from guests. This is also through the end of March. You'll see year-to-date, revenue from box office sales, November through March, $124,000 from resident sales, $55,000 of theater sales to guests, so our total box office sales $179,000. When you convert the dollars to the number of tickets sold, we've sold 10,922 theater tickets to residents, 3,801 tickets sold to guests. Total tickets sold 14,723. Guest fees that are included in your total box office sales equates to, if you recall, that's $3 per guest added to the regular theater ticket price. So that equates to $11,403. Guest passes that have been sold in the ID office, $23,265. Year-to-date, and guest passes sold in the staff office, $6,500. So total revenue generated from guests for the 5 months, $41,172. No questions? Okay. The last report here is your estoppel report, which is also through the end of March. March was a huge month, the biggest month so far, where we collected estoppels on 75 units, meaning there were 75 units sold during the month of March. So that brings our year-to-date total to 276 units versus the same period in the prior year were 292 units. So a decrease of only 16 units or 5%. We collected $57,940 in estoppel income. The same period the prior year, $62,930. So it's a decrease of just under $5,000. Thank you.
Excellent.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Monica.
All right.
Good morning.
Yes. All right, I don't know if everybody remember Kevin is the mechanical engineer that we've hired, okay? There is a couple little situations that he's gonna explain, and he's gonna also explain exactly where we're at this point of this ending of the commissioning of all the units and his certifications, okay? Kevin?
Okay, so to bring you up to date first, where we are in the project, all the air handlers have been installed. All of them have water flow, all of them are powered, and they all have air flowing. Now we need to tune and tweak them. So what we're doing now, we did some this morning, we did some yesterday. Tomorrow we are rebalancing and commissioning, which means testing all the bells and whistles, humidity, temperature, scheduling, opening valves, closing dampers, that kind of thing. We will be working that out tomorrow, doing the rooftop units for the theater. So there's 3 air handlers on the roof that we will fix tomorrow. Then we have the administration area, which is, I believe, unit number 11 and 14, and that's it. So earlier this week, we were aggressive Monday. We did aggressiveness today. We weren't quite ready for the rooftop units. There's a couple little tweaks. I said, instead of coming back and forth, just fix what you need to fix, and then I'll come back. So that's what we're gonna do tomorrow. And then I'll be out on vacation next week. The week thereafter, the second week of May, the week of May 8th, I'll present my report and my findings. But before I present it to you, I want the contractors to fix all the problems that I found. I find that it goes slower. If we have little problems and issues and I ask them to go tweak something, I'll be sitting for half an hour. So I'd rather just document and make a list of all the problems that I found while we were tweaking the units and their operation. Then we'll go back that week thereafter and fix all of the little nuances of the readings and how the units form and function. And that's where we stand right now with the project. I think it went very well, slow for some, but for the nature of the facility and keeping it operational, I felt that the project went pretty smooth. And I can already tell the differences when I walk into some rooms about how things are being controlled, what you can see on the computer screen, how you can go back and schedule things and events. It's pretty, I like what's coming on with this project. Okay, so we do have some news for the party room that was unveiled last week. So we go to try to balance the party room and get it where it needs to be. Come to find out we can't get the airflow that we need in the first half of the party room when you first enter the room. So we said, okay, well, let's try this, let's try that. Still no results. So I said, okay, it's time to dig apart and walk down, basically, or get on the ladder and look and see if we have any leaks in the ductwork. It's kind of like, piping up your yard for a sprinkler system, finding out you plug one and then water comes up over here, you plug that and then another hole opens up. So what we did was we opened up the ceiling tiles and we found out that, wow, we've got almost colder air above the ceiling than I do in the space. That's not good. Something's going wrong with the ductwork. So let's go and look and find what we can find. So we have these temperature and humidity monitors and probes that I can take. So it's not just my human hand saying I feel a drag, so I feel cold. So I went in there and I'm receiving like 55-degree air, which is what comes off of the coil, which tells me it's coming right out of the air handler into the ceiling off the ductwork. Now, the type of ductwork that you have in this facility in most spots is ductboard, which is taped and sealed together with a mastic, they call it compound. Well, under pressure or due to age, it'll start to frail and deteriorate, and then when you get things back to the way they were supposed to operate, you may find that you have some deficiencies in your ductwork system. The only way to do that really is to do a pressure test. Well, we can't pressure test ductwork that's already hooked up and every diffuser is wide open. Usually contractors do that before they tap on any more ductwork or grills and diffusers to the ductwork. They make sure it can hold pressure. Well, this was an existing facility. All we did was just put new diffusers and ductwork in the second part of the party room, and that air handler stayed because it has capacity and still has useful life. So we decided not to replace that air handler. It still can perform, we just have to fix the leak in the ductwork. So that's the new news that we have for party room.
So what we're doing is getting a cost on that, because that was an existing, and it's under, it's in a, it's covered by sheetrock. In the party room where you look, if you walk into the party room, in the big ceiling to the left-hand side, you'll see a trough there, okay? That's made out of sheetrock. At one time, that used to be a return air ductwork in the beginning. It was changed and converted to a supply ductwork, okay? So we're thinking, when that was patched up, there's possibly something broken there. But we need to take that sheetrock off the bottom and replace that ductwork inside there, and just to make sure that there's no more problems. But that's, we're getting the pricing on that. That was existing ductwork. We did not, that was not part of the contract. So does the air condition, the air handler was not part of it either. It was engineered to say it would be able to handle both rooms.
It did not need replacement at this time.
Yeah.
So what I'm having the contractors do is give me 3 prices for 3 different types of ductwork to evaluate. So right now you have ductboard. Yes, it can stand the test of time if it's well maintained. That's what you have now. There's also another product called Cool Duct, which kind of looks like ductboard with this yellow on the inside and kind of like a silver on the outside. Well, it's much thinner because it's a different material. It's not fiberglass, but it has that aluminum lining on the outside and the inside, so it allows you to clean the ductwork. But it's only 1 inch thick and not 1.5 inches that you see some ductboards. I'll have them price those 2 options, and then another option for sheet metal duct, like you have in some of these spaces that we did renovate, did receive sheet metal. That's easy to clean, and it holds the pressure 20, 30 years. We see that ductwork still hold up with its gasketing material and everything. So just options for you to weigh. You have 3 different types. I figured they didn't need to take out the entire soffit, just the bottom of it, pull the ductwork down, lift the new ductwork up, and seal it. And then we'll test and balance before we put the ceiling back. Make sure it holds pressure. That's my plan. And I have a couple of sheets that I gave to Monica and if Foster want to see. But that was just my temperature reading, so you saw, wow, above the ceiling right here around this ductwork, we're at 50-something degrees, but then out in the space, we were a little different temperature settings. Just to kind of so you can see.
I gotta tell you, spending this kind of money in a building and assuming something that's been there for 10 or 15 years that is not going to fail, to me is a terrible thing on behalf of you're trying to present this building to us. I mean, everything, as you just said, everything has a life expectancy.
Yes.
I'm assuming that was done when we had the hurricane 15 years ago, 16 years ago. That ductwork. The ductwork in the party room.
The ductwork, yes.
So why would you not figure that in while the building is open and replace it? Or check it before you replace it?
Okay, we're going a step further. He wasn't here during that portion of it, okay, so.
No, but I'm just saying, the engineering part, I would have figured, let's replace this, and if it doesn't need to be replaced, you save it, you check it.
At that time, okay, we're talking about the big room, okay?
Yeah, I know.
We didn't, that was a heavy cost to replace all that ductwork inside. We're talking about one trunk that brings that trunk line from the unit to the secondary room.
I understand, that's been a problem.
All that ductwork in there, you're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars, you know? But at this point, it did not show that it was, by the test that it did, it didn't show that room had a problem, okay?
Well, then something's wrong with the testing there, because now it doesn't work. And now you gotta take something apart all over again.
We did this in 2017.
Yeah, I understand.
So in that interim, okay, I could even, I'm not trying to defend it.
No, I'm just saying,
You don't know how a patch or anything else that it's made when it was converted that time, okay, to do what it's showing.
Yeah.
To bring that air, that it could have failed, I don't know, you know, but what he's telling me is that the temperatures are cooler up there, so we got a leak in that ductwork.
I understand
We
that.
didn't have that because I know for a fact that we had the pressures in the beginning, so something happened between the 2017 report and the 2023, you know?
And I have a theory about what may have happened to that ductwork. So for example, when you were under partial operation or previous to our renovation project, right? That ductwork may have been sealed and just holding on to its dear life, right? So then we go back to that air handler and say, hey, it's time to test and balance and put this air handler back to its restored condition, what it originally was designed for. So we went and did our HVAC load calculation. We said, hey, you need this much air. For example, I need 10,000 CFM of air in this space. Well, we were used to doing 8,000, 6,000, and it was getting us along. But now that we've got it engineered and we've got the ductwork sized properly, especially in that second party room, now when we turn the air handler on, we go and start to increase the speed so I get my capacity where it needs to be. I'm thinking pressure on the ductwork, loosened up tape, because it just deteriorates over time. And it's just whether it was exposed to non-air conditioning for a while you were doing all this construction. Did that influence the tape to weaken and then all of a sudden now pop open? I can't tell.
You understand,
Yeah.
you understand what I'm saying?
If I, again, I have to take the word of the engineers, okay, before I could even
All right.
present, but, you know, when they did their testing and everything else, and they're telling me that that ductwork was sufficient and what they were going to do with the VAVs, okay, that it would still be able to handle it. It's just that it was a shocker to me too, to see that this thing didn't have, because that was the original, the problem that existed and how we went forward with this was the party room, okay? I mean, why we are in this place with air conditioning was the party room, okay?
I understand, but if you remember, the party room has been a continuous problem
Yes.
because of the addition of the building and the dropping, the separation. So I felt, my personal feeling, that more attention should have been paid to that specific end of the building, not just assume that it was good. That's my personal feeling. I understand.
I would, again, I agree, I understand, but I don't want to lack that we didn't, because there was a lot of attention to that. I was really looking at, even back then, is the air handler, was it sufficient? Even before Kevin came here and the other engineer was here, I was willing to swap out the air handler that was in the main lobby, okay? Because I thought that one was larger, just to make sure we had enough air pressure. Now, again, like he's saying, you put more air pressure in ductboard, and that's why a lot of it changed in here to metal ductwork, because we did put in a lot of VAVs where it shuts down and puts more pressure on that ductboard, okay? So in these areas that we changed out, a lot of them went to metal ductwork. In that particular room went to metal ductwork, okay? There was even rooms that were, by accident, the contractor removed, and it wasn't supposed to be removed, sort of like the room upstairs, I think, by your, where the ceramics room was, okay?
Yes.
That room was not supposed to be the ductwork not taken out, but they took it out. They put all brand new ductwork inside there, okay? No cost to us, that was their mistake, okay? So, but again, the more that we put VAVs inside there, the more pressure you put in these old, and in that particular case, it was done in 2005, that whole area, so we thought it should be sufficient enough. And it was enclosed in sheetrock, so we couldn't see it, you know?
Yeah.
All we could do is take pressure tests from it, you know?
And what we had the contractor do is pressure test or test and balance the air handler and its flow, so that we knew that the air handler coil had enough capacity for humidity when you have your events here, especially in the evenings and also during the summer times. Even if it's on the first floor, I still wanted to handle that capacity of outside air because it wasn't considered in the first time. So this is why we went back to it to see if you had enough. Now, I've talked to a couple of contractors and they said, well, why don't you guys pressure test existing ductwork, for example, like you're saying, to your point. Well, we find out when we pressure test ductboard, we blow holes in it. So we end up breaking the ductboard trying to pressure test it. So sometimes we say, hey, we'll back off until it breaks, we'll address it, but I don't want to waste your money, change out all the ductwork unless you have that capital, and then we'll go back to a regular system. Otherwise, we kind of address it as it goes. We deal with the same thing with plumbing systems, especially sanitary lines. under condos and taller buildings, where we start to see the iron starts to corrode and the pipes get smaller and smaller, where we have to flush them out, line them, but we usually don't do that until you have a problem.
So what ductwork did we actually do so far?
In the party room?
Yeah.
Okay, the party room was the small room. It's all completely brand new. Okay?
Now, is the metal duct better than the cool duct?
Oh,
Is
yes.
it longer guarantee?
The metal duct is always the
Yes.
best for cleaning and everything, yes. It's just more expensive, you know?
Because you have to fabricate the metal ducts to whatever we size it for. The installation time, because you have special guys that are union for that type of ductwork installation, and you have to wrap it and seal it. So there's like double labor cost in pushing it up and installing it. Now I have to wrap it with insulation so it doesn't sweat. So this other cool duct type of material kind of saves you on insulating labor.
But what's the life expectancy?
They're just pretty much the same. They say, oh, that pressure class can hold up to 2 inches, which is really a lot of pressure. Right now, we size these ducts in this building for 0.1, and they can hold up to 2.0. So we have enough fluff in the ductwork. We just don't know why the tape failed on the duct. So when the air handler was speeding up and reaching its set point, pops a hole in the ductwork.
All right, so if we do the cool duct, will it last 15 years, 20 years?
Yes, yes.
Do you put that in writing?
Uh-huh. Yeah, and the manufacturer even warranties their ductwork to hold.
Everything's warranted on
Yes.
But
The-
just a thought there. Could the fact of all the humidity in that room have caused that?
Listen, there's a lot of things that
I'm
could
just-
cause it. There's two things. One, that unit was not working or running like he was saying at full capacity. Two, it was not even taking outside air. So it was struggling to get air into that air handler room, okay? So again, it could have been, you know, we put the outside air into it and hooked it up like it's supposed to be. We then put VAVs inside there, so there was a lot of pressure on something that was moisture for a long period of time, okay, in that party room. And the tape could have loosened up and broke any connection inside there, okay? Until we open it up, okay, and we look at this, there's definitely a temperature difference, so something's leaking something inside there. And it's best to replace from point A to point B for the new ductwork that's in the kitchen area, you know, where it came in through, and the separation of the two buildings, okay? That was all connected to that particular ductwork, okay? So that, from that point to the air handler, it's gonna be replaced, if I'm not mistaken, yes?
And that's what I have. I have a document, Foster, if you'd like to see the temperatures and where we're thinking of replacing the portions of the ductwork. I gave some instructions.
I just have a different
Yeah.
mindset that if you're doing $1,000 repair, you're doing a $4 million repair, and you're worried about replacing $5,000 worth of ductwork, and now it doesn't work,
Yeah.
or it needs to be replaced after the fact, it costs you more money. Because you gotta bring in more labor, plus you have people that wanna use the facility, and now the facility may be shut down while that's being done, which is gonna create more havoc, and we're gonna look like we don't know what we're doing, even though we're not the engineers
Correct. And
or the contractors.
I hope you don't have any more failures. Because we've already tested and balanced the rest of the systems in the facility, so this could be just an anomaly. We feel like the rest of your systems, because now we've done stuff in the attic. I was thinking when those guys are up there in the attic, they're touching and hitting and kicking and pushing on things, you're gonna have probably more punctures all in the ductwork. But we think they did a good enough job of protecting everything and getting it up and running, like Dan said. There's some that they even were overzealous in their demolition and replaced it at their cost for us. So I think that this is just your one, still thorn in your flesh kind of thing of the party room that we're trying to pull out.
And just so, Costa, just so I understand too, the area that we're talking about is enclosed in sheetrock.
I know.
The rest, anything else that's a problem, we could fix, you know, without a very big cost whatsoever if it
Right,
causes a
in the
problem.
future.
This is the problem that I can't get to it, you know,
Right.
so it has to be opened up to get to. And that's the reason that we're coming to you, because that is a cost to take the sheetrock and then put the sheetrock back to make it look good inside the party room again, you know? I can't put a drop ceiling inside there.
No,
So,
And we'll evaluate the cost to what the industry standards are at a competitive rate. We're not gonna agree to something, or I won't even bless something that says, oh, well, this is egregious. We didn't tell you to come do this at 2 in the morning. We'd probably find a way for you to come do this during daytime hours or on the weekend when it's less occupied. You see how the labor rates will come down a little bit, or their material costs. We'll look at all that backup data that we asked them to present.
there's There's still, besides that, okay, there's still one piece that's not affecting any of the commissioning, and that's in the unit up in the theater that's still missing the hood, which we will still not receive until August from Carrier, okay? It's not affecting anything of test and balancing, okay, but it will be, it's definitely necessary for rain and everything else, okay, down the road to make sure nothing gets inside, for these units up on the top, okay? I think that they resolved, I had two other issues, but it looks like they resolved those issues. And we will finalize the balancing, as the
Yes.
balancing of the theater units to make sure that that's 100% too, okay? Overall, even though I had some comments that were made here, the air quality, okay, and also the moisture levels have gone down considerably, okay? The vapor barrier was a big plus to this thing here, okay, in making that happen. So if you go through the rooms, especially in the offices right now, other than, I just went down to the ID because there was a complaint of the temperatures, but what was happening down there, just to let you know, that unit was being turned off too. Didn't realize at nighttime, so they were running a problem during the day. So we're turning the temperature down, but you can smell the rug. Remember how we did the party room, when it gets to humidity, the rug will start stinking, you know, okay? It's not mold, people automatically, it's the mold, but it's the carpet getting moisture on the, and smelling, making the carpet smell. And that's what the ID office had. She had a few complaints. We just went down there, we're resolving that for having that unit stay on through the night instead of just turning off and then coming back on and lower the temperature.
Take it off of the schedule, just let it continuously run.
Because that's the only place that we're having a problem. The rest of them, wherever we are turning it down, or turning the temperatures up to 78 to try to save as much money as possible, due to the fact our electric bill, okay, so I want everybody to be aware with the engineer here, okay, we're doing things that we weren't doing before, okay, and that's removing humidity, okay, and how we're removing humidity is through electric heaters, okay. We're not heating the room, we're just removing it and utilizing it for removing moisture, okay. Now, every single unit now is working. They were not working before, okay. So electricity, and then you have, the difference between this clubhouse and the rest of the other clubhouse, your lower voltage here. So our increases in the electric bill have gone, even though we've tried and put in more energy efficient chillers, more energy, everything energy efficient that we put. Those 3 units are the best that you could buy for efficiency that is out there with the frequency drives included. But you have a greater cost in electric, and then the fuel costs that went up in the last 6 months to a year. It's been all I saw is the electric bill increasing, you know, okay? But thank God that we've done what we've done over the last year or two, because it would have been even worse, you know? So there's pluses and there's minuses on what we've done here, but I think it's a bigger plus in the long run, that you're actually saving money with the cost of the units that you replaced over the last 2-3 years now, you know? With the cost of electricity going up the way it is.
So before I leave out of town, I'll be leaving out of the country Friday. Tomorrow, I am wrapping up the last little bits and pieces of this commission. So I've been taking notes and jotting down a lot of things, like, well, we might need to fix this, guys. Well, you set the humidity probably too high in this space, because there's a lot of tweaking. Each little system is its own animal, there's its own, I can't treat every single one the exact same way. So I've got to go through, and I'm making marks of a to-do list item that I will leave with Dan prior to me leaving. So the contractors have a week before I get back. Have you addressed those items? Okay, I'm going to come back through and double check these issues. But that's what we got left. We're at the tail end of this journey. So it's feeling good. There's a lot of spaces that I bought, man. It's a little too chilly in here. It just tells you it's working, you know.
But it's not moist chilly.
No, and it's not humid.
It's definitely
Yeah.
cold.
It's just cold but dry.
Yeah, it smells better in here.
Yeah, everywhere, the offices, her office, there's, like I said, I was surprised, but the first thing I could tell, when you walk into a building that you don't come in every day, they come in every day, you could tell right off the bat something's wrong, you know? And, the ID office definitely was carpet, you know, so. Okay, any other questions for Kevin? All right, thank you
Have a
very
nice
much.
vacation.
Have a
Yeah.
nice-
Yeah, great
Thank you.
time.
Well, we'll see
I'm
you
nervous,
tomorrow.
but
Okay, but thank you very much.
Good
Okay.
stuff. Good stuff, Kevin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I left the drawings with Dan.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, next.
Okay, catwalk is also coming, the catwalk upstairs, we've had it closed for a period of time. Inspections, I think the last inspection is coming up this week. Sometime next week, we should be finalized. We are going to be doing the painting. They're going to be doing the waterproofing on the top to eliminate any more problems in the future, okay? And hopefully within 2 weeks, we'll have that whole thing completed 100%.
So the electrical's been fixed with that?
Everything's been done, okay? If you went out there, take a look at it, came out, they did a really nice job on the stuccoing there, and it was good up there, okay? Just needs to be primed and then painted on the bottom side and on the side, and then on top, these guys are putting a water sealer up on the top, okay? Get that taken care of.
So did you say the WPRS staff is gonna do the painting?
Yes, the paint.
Yes.
They're only gonna do the painting, they got the paint, the whatever, because I'm gonna paint the whole, to make it look all, instead of the patching that they had to do, they'll have to paint the whole bottom just to make it look all one piece, you know, not to patch it.
Is that a freebie?
We
Yeah,
wish.
right now, it's a few $100 in the paint.
Right, but with that, we'll be able to open up the card room and then the other side of the old card room, a meeting room. So, yeah.
And that's taken care of a lot, and that water sealer should never have that problem again in that area again. That's pretty much taken care of.
Dan, can I ask you a question about that?
Yes.
I'm not sure, but can that, we put the divider in there, can that actually be opened up into one big room?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
It doesn't really look that way,
No.
but it's a hidden,
Yes, we opened, you could open that up to make one big room. At
thanks.
this point, it was whatever your fault, whatever, how the rooms are now being used, but we did it because, remember when we had that walkthrough, it helped also because the air handlers
Correct.
were not mixing together. So now you have one room, the other, but if you wanted to make it one big room for any occasions, you can do it, and they work, also the computerized system works it together with both units working properly too, you know.
Thank you.
Okay. The lagoon, I don't know if you've been out there, I haven't talked to Donald, I know he's been on vacation. But if you've been out there, it's been dredged out there, okay? We're gonna keep that under control, okay, and making sure we spray because this is the one by Okeechobee Road, okay? Where the weir is,
By the fire
okay, by the fire
station.
I
station,
know where it goes.
okay? So if you take a look at that, they came out, they took a lot of stuff out of there, okay? But it can come back very quickly if you do not spray and maintain, okay? In the past, we let things just go here, and we just got it. It costs money to maintain, but it costs you more if you don't maintain. As you can see, that was thousands of dollars to get that cleared up the way it is. But they did a nice job. They couldn't get too close to Okeechobee because of the riprap that they have there, okay? But it has to be sprayed. I was telling Kevin and Asia they'll have a PM out there. They'll cut the banks a little bit more, okay? And we are going to be fencing that area in, okay? So that it separates from the fire department and the other, it'll be our area to maintain, you know?
Would it pay for us to line the sides of that to prevent growth?
Yeah, that's a very heavy cost, okay? That's what they call the riprap. They would only do it a certain way, and the cheapest way is that riprap, you know, which is very expensive to do besides your GO2, you know, which is another major expense, you know? But if you maintain it and spray it, okay, and keep up with it, it should stay under. But in the middle, it has to also be sprayed with special stuff to get underneath the water, you know? So the aquatic people that do that should spray that and keep that weed control underneath there too, okay? But there was from over the years, it just grew very heavy, you know, inside there.
When's the last time that was cleaned? Does anyone know?
Never since I've been here.
Really? That's like so.
Okay. Okay, the pickleball courts, we've had some expense in the repairs there by the clubhouse, the pickleball courts there. I don't know if you remember, we used to have shovelware courts there, right? In those courts, there was a 3-inch drain in every one in the center, okay? Well, what I'm gonna have to do, because they're basically saying when it rains very heavy, we have an accumulation of water, and it takes a little while to drain, okay? So what I'm having to do, Kevin and Asia, they're gonna try to find that 3-inch line that runs into the lake area, okay? We're gonna tap into that 3-inch line and put it around the outside so that we have the drainage a lot quicker coming off that. It'll be around the edge of where the rock is right now, and separate locations through there, so that we can drain that water off a lot faster. So it won't cause the problem that's causing right now by the water sitting on there too long, causing the paint to bump, okay?
I'm just wondering about the courts to the left or to the right. To the left it was shuffleboard, that I was playing last year, and pickleball was on the right.
That they used to be shuffleboard courts where the
They were all
pickleball courts were.
Yeah, but they got separated, because it's pickleball.
Yeah, we separated it, so that now, like I said, we'll be putting those drains inside there and getting the water to drain off a lot faster, only when we get very heavy rains, very heavy rains. When it rains just regular, it drains off no problem. It's the heavy rain, and you'll see it accumulate back for about 3 or 4 feet, okay, with some heavy water before it starts going down, you know? So I think this will resolve that, okay, if we could tie into that drain that's there. It's already existing going out to the lake.
Would it pay to put a sump pump in there?
I
Dig a dry well, put a sump pump in there when the water gets too high and push it into the lake?
Well, we have right now, let's, if it doesn't, you know, down the road, if we have to do something mechanical like that, we will, but I think right now with this 3-inch capacity pipe, that it will draw that water a lot faster than just draining through the rock, okay? So if it doesn't, then we'll do something and put a well inside, but I have the pipe that goes underneath the road already into the lake, okay? So I just gotta tie into that and put like 3 or 4 sections inside there, and hopefully that will take care of this problem, okay? But we'll look into that if it doesn't, you know, I'm not saying it is.
Okay.
I think that's me.
That's it for you.
Holy cow. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Just one more topic, just on that, back to the AC. I want you to know that the system, not the state of the art, but unfortunately, the code requirements that you have today on these buildings, okay, make it complex, you know, on what they want done with green and energy savings, okay? You've gotten in there, okay? The system that we have to control the AC here, we'll have that and we'll put it up on the board to show you, because it's the state of the art today, okay, but not the top line, but the state of the art on how it controls all these VAVs that we have. We have over 100 VAVs inside here to control the temperatures, okay, and setting them down and off. So all the areas that we did with the metal duct work, lifetime of this building, it'll go on, no problem, okay? Any of the existing fiberglass, I just want you to know, any of the existing fiberglass could be down the road, any failure. And just remember, you have 2 chillers that we just installed, but they're just like a car engine. Everything needs maintenance and anything can break down. They're mechanical. Don't expect just because we put them in there that something will not break, okay? It is the way I live, the life that I live. We know that these things will break down. They're supposed to last 15 years, okay? Let's hope, because today they don't make them like they made them in the past, okay? That's the bottom line. Nothing is made that I've seen coming into this that is of life expectancy where it used to be 20 years plus, no more, okay? And the other thing that I've noticed is that the systems that we put in, the new air handlers that are in here now, it needs a mechanic. You can't have your regular air conditioning. I mean, the control system, you need a guy that knows controls, mechanical and electrical, okay? It's very sophisticated when you look at these things, how they come in, because of the EPA rulings that they're making these things happen with the motors now have a frequency drive right in it. But now, remember, when it breaks down, it's going to cost you a lot more. It's just like your cars. Remember the old cars, you could change the carburetors. Today, you can't do that anymore. You can't do that with these things anymore either. It's just very expensive, and we're in the lightning capital of the world, okay, where I'm having these power failures, especially in this building. It's power failure after power failure, okay? The only good thing, and I don't have any wood here to knock them on my head, the chillers that we put in, and we finally got this, so Kevin does not have to come in here every freaking time there's a power outage to reset those chillers. That makes it tough inside here to try to get the air conditioning also working. So the chillers are working properly, okay? We have some little things with some of these old frequency drives that are existing, okay? That still, when the power goes out, they don't reset themselves, okay? So he still has to come in for that, but the majority of that problem has also been resolved with this renovation. So it's really made the air quality a lot better, and the air conditioning, and also the cost a lot better. So there is some cost still on this.
Yeah, I have one thing. Friday night, we were in the party room, and all of a sudden, the lights on the sides of the dance floor came on all by themselves. And I understand they've had this problem before. They said there's some kind of a glitch in the system.
How come it's in the closet?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
half of the
I-
controls are in the closet and the rest are on the wall. And we called to have them shut the lights down, but they couldn't turn the lights off. And then eventually they went in the closet and half the lights went off, but the other half were still on.
Somebody just didn't know what they're doing, because I've never heard the problem until
Well,
what you're saying to me, but somebody didn't know how to reset something. And the controls are in that closet for a lot of the things, for the lighting, for the.
Well, Eva, you talk to your ushers, because they told us that this is a common thing, that just arbitrarily, the lights, not the ones on the dance floor, the fluorescent lights on the sides, either side of the dance floor, yeah, like these.
Like these.
All of a sudden, they just popped on,
And,
and
you know,
I couldn't get them off.
and I get emails from them every week regarding the dance and the show, and that has not been mentioned. No?
I was there.
But we were there.
No, I believe
You know.
But the thing is
No,
also.
I believe, this
Yeah.
is the first I'm hearing it, so.
So, you know, we used to do it before COVID hit, that they wanted atmosphere, they didn't want every light blaring.
Right.
But that particular switch is not, while we moved a lot out on the outside wall for them, we did not move that. And that's something I want to see, so that everything is there
Okay.
for them.
Again, that's something that we'll have
Yeah.
to look into. I'll find
It's not
out
right.
exactly where the switches turn off and on, but it should be no problem. If it trips out, I mean, there is, that is a kind of sophisticated panels back in there because they're all lighting control panels. But like she's saying, there is switches inside there and switches on the outside. The outside we put so that the common switches that you can turn on and off all the time. And if you had any problems, you would go into the inside, the ones that we didn't want too many people to touch. You know?
The only reason why I'm bringing it up, because I know that you split the stuff
Yes.
outside, and we were there Friday night, and all of a sudden the place lit up, and everybody was complaining, and they said, oh, this happens all the time, and they're aware of it. So,
It's the first time I experienced it.
yeah, so it's first time that it ever happened to us, but I'm surprised that you're not aware of it. Okay,
Not aware of it.
They brought it up to me, so I would.
well,
It was. But I will look into it. I mean, that's
Okay.
something that, again, I could just see that somebody just didn't know what to turn on or off, you know, that's all.
But then they couldn't get, when they did find the right switch, they couldn't get them to go off.
half of it went off. Eventually,
You know, they can eventually.
the other guy that was at the front desk came in, Isaiah didn't know where it
One
was.
person
Yeah,
didn't
so
know.
somebody just
But
didn't
he
know.
went in and he shut them off, but half the lights went out, the other half was still. Yeah, I don't know, it could be a combination of everything.
Yeah.
All Polar guys came in and flipped the switch, because he didn't want to
The
dance in the
gremlins
dark.
that we have around about?
Yeah.
I prefer nobody being in there, so what we're gonna
Right.
do is basically
Nobody
put
goes
whatever
in.
the switches that we
One
need to.
more, just one
Because
more.
it does cause problems throughout the whole building in there, so I don't want them to go in there
Right.
flicking something off that they don't need to flick, but.
No problem.
We will get it resolved so that the switches are on the outside and
Okay.
basically turn on and off. So thank you for letting us know. And
Okay.
thank you, I think unless there's any other questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess now it's me. So I'm gonna report on, because Fausto had brought up at the last meeting that there was an issue in the lobby when there was excursion, a sign up for the excursion trip. And so I reviewed the footage, and from what I could see, and I actually recognized the resident that had gone to Patricia. And I know she's loud, she has a mouth on her, you know, comes to some quick conclusions. So while she was far enough back in the line, probably worried that she would not get on the one bus, and then all the people behind her, she was saying something about it, but Patricia explained it. I didn't see that the situation was out of control. If she was out of control, she could not have taken the time to stop to listen to Patricia, but I saw her stop, and she was listening to Patricia, and whatever it is you said to her suited her well enough to where she just went back into line. I do not think that, from what I could see, there was anything that would have gotten security's attention, so I don't see that they did anything, that they did not handle the situation properly. I don't think that there was anything that needed attention in that regard. Okay.
I disagree, but
Okay.
I'm
Duly noted.
I'm just saying that, in fact, I just read your article for the next reporter,
Yes.
and it says very nicely
Yes.
to be
With-
appropriate
yes.
in attire and walking up and down the lines, throwing your hands up in the air and saying, people, you need a second bus. But to me, if that's normal, I don't know.
Well, from
But
where she came, I couldn't see all the way to the end of the line, so I did not see that.
Well, she from the middle of the
Mhm.
line,
Right.
from the security
Right.
desk to the hallway over here,
Mhm.
she was inciting everybody up there to go yelling and screaming. She went up to Bobby once or twice and was talking to her that it was unfair, that you needed a second bus. And-
Well, I think what happened is some of them showed up at 9 o'clock and did not realize that people were lining up hours earlier. So they were already triggered by that. But I did, before the insurance meeting, I think it was, that I spoke with you outside the door. And I asked Patricia, did you think that security should have intervened? She didn't think so. And then I also heard from somebody else who was right there at the front of the line that was a witness and also supported that. So from what I'm seeing and the input I'm getting,
Okay.
okay? All right.
Eva, could I-
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
We're going to have sign up for the trip to the port. We may have this very same problem because people are very anxious to go. I would just ask you to ask the security guards, if anybody raises their voice, to just go over and say, keep your voice down.
Mhm.
That's all.
Well, if you expect long lines, I can do one better. Why don't we just have a security guard walk up and down and just kind of hang out there?
That's up to you.
You know, then with a little bit of security presence, and if somebody has anything to say, there's always avenues to express what you want, you
I'm only
know.
having one day for
Mhm.
sign up,
Okay,
and people are going to come. There's no way around it.
yes. And they're gonna show up, there are those that showed up at 9, but there were those that were there at 7 o'clock in the morning because they wanted their place.
That will happen this time too.
Yeah,
We're not running,
You can't help it.
yeah, okay. All right. So, security had brought this to me. We had some residents who put together, it was a short list, but so that it didn't blow away, they attached it to this little binder and then they put this. And so their request is that we extend the hours, the availability of the outdoor pool and resistance pool, and also then the gym would follow, because right now we have everything it's only open till 9 o'clock at night. We did that because of COVID. We were slowly inching our way up to that time, but we decided not to extend it beyond that point, and we'd see how the residents reacted to that. So I'm just bringing it to you to see what you want to decide about that, or if you want to kick it back to me, that we would open the pools until 10. I could not open the gym until 10, until the new budget year, because that means I'm going to have staff that are going to cover it that extra hour, so that's an additional 7 hours a week. And the committee would have to agree to give me the budget to do that, to keep the gym open as long as we're also keeping the availability to the pools.
I think it's sufficient to 9 o'clock. I'm not dawn. At night, I think, and the buses are there, you know. I think you're opening it up to possible people being at the pool late and then they can't see. Most of us don't see.
Well, we have much better lighting there. It would not be open the way it is.
Oh, okay.
We have different lighting there.
Okay.
So we do have a lot of people that work. I agree, I don't know that we need to open the gym till 10 o'clock. What we have from 8 to 9 on most nights, it's very few people. They could find accommodation earlier in the day.
I'm home by myself one day. That's how proud of
Yeah, so I think, all right, John?
All the outdoor pools are open until 10 now, right?
Well, it's really supposed to be sun up to sundown.
Right.
No,
So-
but I thought I read something where the outdoor pools like Camden Sea and Canton are going to be open until 10.
Well, now that we're out of daylight savings time,
Yeah.
we're out of daylight savings time. So,
Are they open till 10 or not?
yes, and we also have security is right there.
So if all the other pools are open until 10, why can't these be? That's all I'm saying. Takes nobody extra to operate them or anything.
No, not the pools. The gym is something
Yeah,
different,
well,
as I said, because,
Yeah.
right.
The gym you can keep closed, they close that early because nobody uses it after
Right.
8 o'clock. But
Yeah,
all the
I see
outdoor
you,
pools,
Joyce.
they should be open till 10. In fact, they should have one 24 hours as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
So I do.
That doesn't work. Joyce, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'm curious, as far as the gym, now that it's kind of off-season, do we have that much of a clientele that needs it to be open till 10?
No, I'm just saying that in the past, we've always, because technically, the Hastings is open till 11.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there's ping pong upstairs, there's a card room upstairs. So, the pools actually, when I first got here, were open until 8. And somebody asked, and I came to the committee, and we agreed that we'd open it to 9 because we had proper lighting out there. But the gym was open till 10:30 before COVID. All right, but we also did not have coverage in there. I did not have staff. And so I think people who didn't want to have to follow any rules went at the very end of the day when I didn't have anybody there to tell them otherwise. So I don't know that we necessarily have to, match it where the pools will be open till 10 and the gym still closes at 9. That's certainly doable. So, Patricia.
I have a question.
Mhm.
I know we're a private pool, so.
Talk into the mic, Patricia, please,
I'm so sorry. With my big mouth, I thought you would hear me.
or just talk a little louder. Patricia, just raise your voice.
Okay, got it. Our pool probably is different because we're private. Liability-wise, I'm assuming because you keep them open until 10, you're covered until 10 if someone should get hurt, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make that.
Yeah.
My question is, how does Palm Beach County tell us at the private pool that we have to be open from sunrise till sunset, and you're not?
Well,
You get the same inspectors that we get, and we were told by sunset, the doors have to be locked.
Really?
That was,
That's a code only for the pool in itself, not for the pool house, but
no,
if depending
Or
on
the
the
deck.
lighting, depending if your permit, you could apply for a permit if the lighting is acceptable at the pool, okay? So you would have to get an engineer to do a study on that, and then you could get yourself a license to be able to stay up later if you want.
so the lighting is the issue between being, okay, all right, I'm asking, because
Well, at the other pools, we only have that the lollipop lighting, which gives light, but it's not what I would call great light. We have much better light at the resident, guest, and Hastings pools.
Remember, we put those lights because of that, to stay open that late, okay? Because we had that problem with not having the sufficient lights, that's why we went to that, with the lighting that you see around the pool areas there.
That's something we should look into.
yeah, we should. Flying toward,
You'd be surprised, not that much that you would have to do, on the spacing or the amount of light that they require.
When they do start going out at 9 to start locking up the pools and emptying out the decks and checking the bathrooms, but the last pool that they get to, that's closer to 10.
You want to come over and see ours, Dan?
I think I have enough to take care of.
It's a small one.
All right, then I'm sorry, Dave.
I think to answer your question, because we kind of went around a bit, is I think the consensus is that the Hastings, the workout area can close at 9.
Yeah.
Yes.
We just
It's
don't have
efficient.
people. Okay.
Right, well, but again, even if you said, yes, let's do it, match it, and put it to 10 o'clock,
Yeah.
we could not do that because I don't have the staff to cover it. So
Exactly.
the gym would still close at 9 until November if the committee gave me the money to hire staff to keep it open till 10. So are we doing anything with this?
No.
Everything stays at 9?
David, you had your hand up?
I really think this is completely a management decision.
I agree.
There's no reason for us to vote on something
Okay.
like
I'm
that.
not, we're gonna pay for this thing.
Well, I think she
You
agrees.
know the usage of the pool. I know the pool the 2 pools that I use, but I have no real knowledge of the other usage of the other pools. But how can we be the judge of that?
Yeah.
This is something that doesn't even have to be brought before the committee.
Good
This is
point.
something you should be.
Well, if everybody's in agreement with that,
Yeah.
that's,
I
Okay.
agree
that's fine.
I agree with Dave.
Yeah, I do too.
I have no trouble making these decisions, but I always want to make sure that you are aware, and if you feel differently, you have the opportunity to tell me that you feel differently.
Okay.
And you would then say, no, we'd like it this way, and that's what it would be.
I think the reason why it's being brought here, because it's a dollar decision.
Well, that too.
That if we extend the hours, it costs us more money.
Right,
So that's why it's being brought to this committee,
right.
because either we give them the money or we put them into the budget for next year. So, but I agree, management should make that decision.
Well, and it also stays later, so people like to be out later, you know, when the sun sets at 5 in season. That's something totally different. They're already hunkered down in their apartments, but because it's lighter later, people do stay out and want that ability. We also have a lot more new owners. Let's not forget, we've sold over 2,500 apartments in the last 2.5 years. So, younger people, well, you know, they want to stay out later, so, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I've had a request from our personal trainer, Avi. He pays us rent. Residents are not allowed to bring their own trainers if they want someone. They have Avi available. But he has asked if he can use the equipment while he is in between his resident customers. He can use the gym equipment.
Why not? I don't see any reason why not. Why not?
Well, what I like about it is he's got proper form. You know, this guy, you have to know, he has jumped in and helped us with things when he sees people using the equipment improperly. Even though that's not his job, he is there and he'll stop people from using it improperly, giving them instruction. So if this is again something that David might say is a management decision, then I would certainly give him the permission to do so.
Is he self-insured?
Yes,
Okay.
That
it has to be.
answers the question.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
He provides us with his insurance certificate every year.
That's fine.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, we're good? All right. Everything. And I think that's it for me.
I have a question.
Go ahead,
Yes.
John.
I'm not complaining, it's just somebody keeps telling, a couple people keep telling me this about karaoke, that the person who's doing karaoke, he and his partner sings 2 or 3 songs at karaoke, which runs into like 20 minutes of them singing. So I'm just letting you know.
I know where it's going.
This isn't the first time I've heard this, and I actually reached out. He's there to do karaoke, and every spot should be available to the residents, because many residents want more than one opportunity to sing. And he is not supposed to be taking up that time. I get that he also is a resident, but if I'm paying him, that puts him in a different category. I will mention it again. Thank you for bringing that up.
I didn't want to be an old
And I listen, and nobody will know, well, unless they watch the video. I never disclose sources.
I really don't care if they know, you know, but I'm just telling you the way it is.
you from there.
I know that Abby is not here,
I chewed out the best of them.
but we've had complaints, and Friday night, when Patricia and I were at the dance, there was again complaints. The DJ, I understand, was his first time there.
Well, what I'm gonna do is, that is why I send out the agenda in advance, asking if there are any items, and I'll let you know that Abby was not gonna be here. So I'm gonna ask you to, we're gonna table this, and I will make note of it to put it on the agenda for next month when she will be here, and then she can speak for herself.
Well, if she gets her a chance, tell her to call me, and I'll fill her in.
Okay. I think it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, yes. If we're done, I would like to bring something up. My personal feeling is that, especially that now insurance is getting harder and harder to get, to find, and everybody wants to sue. I think anybody that plays pickleball, tennis, or whatever should be signing some kind of waiver that if they get hurt, unless it's a defect or a fault in the ground, I know that they can sue anyway, but it's just a waiver saying, I'm not gonna sue if I get hurt. And the reason for that is it's a cash piggy bank. You know, I know you have cameras, and I know that you could see whatever you do, but somebody could come on and has a bad ankle and decides to go play tennis or go play pickleball. He falls down on the court's perfect, oh, I broke my ankle, you know? I think there should be a certain amount of liability on the individual that if he's going to play a sport, he shouldn't play if he's not capable of playing. And as we get older, and I know you're gonna have to run this through legal, but I just personally think, just letting people on there, oh, I wanna learn how to play pickleball, and 10 people get out there, and somebody gets hurt, and we're liable, and our insurance rates going through the roof.
You know, I have incident reports crossing my desk daily. How many of them are trips and falls, I couldn't say. How many actually wind up in a lawsuit? Monica, I would say it has to be less than 2% of all the people that are coming on property to use our facilities. It's very small. Would you say less than 5%?
I wouldn't begin to know the percentage, but I can tell you the lawsuits are flowing in everywhere, more and more and more by the day.
Well, that's because this new law's been passed and they're trying to get in, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I just honestly feel that we should take this summer to talk to your legal department, whether you're gonna go to the gym, or whether you're gonna use any of the equipment, or you're gonna go, that you should hold a hold harmless clause
Well,
to the individual, only for the simple reason that we should not be an additional
Right.
cash cow
Right.
for anybody.
we do for the wood shop, for stained
I know.
glass, for sailing, for the gym, they all sign it. For the fishing permits, also to be on the edge of the water, they sign it. So is it, would it be that far of a stretch? Not really.
No, because you're already doing it for
Right.
certain things.
Absolutely.
No, I think it's a great idea. I think the difficult thing about it is policing it. How do you communicate to all the wannabe pickleball and tennis players that prior to playing, they need to sign a release?
Well,
Right, and they'd have to get the same little hologram sticker on their ID.
ID,
right.
And then, then they're gonna have to hang it on the fence maybe. So security can go by and see that there's 8 players, here's 8 IDs.
It's going to require a little bit of policing, but
Correct.
even if it costs you $100 a day extra to police it, and it saves a $100,000 lawsuit, you're ahead of the game.
Right,
And I think that people feel that they should be made aware of it. And if for a little while, you gotta have somebody by the tennis courts or somebody by the pickleball courts and say, listen, unless you've signed this form, you can't play pickleball.
yeah.
You know, and I think that we should be looking into this, be ahead of the problem, not behind the problem.
No, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I am amazed, like I said, for the number of incidents I see, that most of them do not turn into a lawsuit. We really have very few that take it that far.
Lucky.
Yeah, no, I'm amazed. Because I would expect more people,
I see
attaching
buses
themselves.
And I see
Yeah.
TV ads
Oh,
that
oh,
say,
God.
let us make you $1 million.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay?
Yep.
And if it's not the buses, it's the individual, oh, you fell down over there, they got plenty of insurance, sue them.
Well, I do try from time to time to let people know that they're not suing the levies, you're suing yourselves.
Yeah, but
No,
They don't care.
but yeah, sometimes though, it might make a difference and make them think twice, but you're right, usually there are other people telling them that you need to sue. And especially as the medical bills mount,
Right.
some of them who might not decide that they need to because now it's becoming a financial burden. So, yeah, no.
I
Well, the
think,
problem is, years ago, you have all these lawsuits for trip and falls and all these things, and the insurance carriers were, so it's a nuisance or whatever, they stroke a check for $10,000 or $15,000. Well, anymore, those checks are being written for $100,000 and $150,000, and they add up very quickly to a very bad loss ratio.
Yeah, but I will say, adding the cameras everywhere is the best thing we can be doing. Right, because that doesn't lie, and it shows exactly what the conditions are, where the incident happened. So,
What about that article about pushing back? All these frivolous lawsuits are not gonna be so easy anymore. Do you know about that? Did you
Well,
read it?
yeah,
Yeah.
we talked about that last week.
Right.
The legislation was effective,
So Morgan,
I don't know the exact date,
oh, Morgan and
somewhere
Morgan.
around the
They're
end
gonna
of
Right.
March.
Right.
we said that at the insurance meeting, yeah.
Yeah, it was discussed. Apparently, when you file a claim, if it can be proven that, say I trip and fall and I'm suing you, if it can be proven that I'm at least 50% at fault, then I can't pursue a claim. So that's why,
Good.
as we were told last week, in the month of February in the state of Florida, there's around 7,000 lawsuits filed, personal injury cases. And in the month of March, there was 78,000 filed. Because all the attorneys knew that this legislation was getting ready to be effective, and any lawsuit filed after that effective date is subject to this new legislation.
Good.
I'm glad for this new
It's good.
legislation.
We had an incident in Greenbrier where a lady fell in the rain running down the stairs with flip-flops. Okay, now, the elevator was working, she fell, she didn't sue once, she sued twice. On the second event, the Seacrest was held partially liable for not being there to sweep the water off the steps.
You've got to be kidding.
No, they divided, they actually held Seacrest, that Seacrest should have had somebody there sweeping the water off the steps.
But she could have taken the elevator.
Could have taken the
She
elevator.
got away with it,
She got away with it.
because our insurance company decided to pay rather than go to court.
They all do, that's the
The
problem.
second one too, they paid all
Right.
the money.
Yeah, but when they were throwing $10,000 at it to go away, now it's $50,000 and $60,000 to make
50
it go
was our
away.
second case.
Well, yeah, because the lawyers get more part of
Of
it.
course, of course.
So, I just think it's something we should look into, and since we're already doing it,
Yeah.
I don't think it would be that hard to implement. You know?
Right, and the one for like all of the actual tennis and bocce and
Shuffleboard.
and shuffleboard and all of that, it's the same, it would be the same form,
Right.
so.
Okay,
Thank you for the
We'll
time.
talk to legal, thank
thank
you.
you.
Monica?
Okay, last thing on the agenda, unless anybody has anything else, is the insurance renewal. We had a meeting last week, the attendance was very disappointing.
Like now.
We didn't even have a quorum.
Yeah.
But at that meeting, we had Assured Partners, Phil Massey do a presentation, and we had Tom Latocha from Centria also do a presentation. At the end of their presentations, there was a lot of discussion, questions. Because we didn't have a quorum, it wasn't really appropriate to make a decision. So, you want me to share what happened?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. There was a suggestion that those that were present at the meeting take a straw vote, so that whatever the results of that vote was, that those that were present could recommend to the operations committee today what decision they had made. I don't know,
I have it.
you've got it with you?
Well, you forgot one thing, Monica. We
Okay.
asked you who you thought you would be the most comfortable with.
She told
Correct. I was asked that, and I did share that I would be most comfortable with Assured Partners, primarily because of the service that we've received from them ever since going with them. It's been night and day from what we were dealing with our previous broker, and they are very attentive. It doesn't matter what we need. If we want them to review a contract or need a certificate of insurance, or it's questions about claims, we get an answer in the same day every day. And as was demonstrated from a schedule that was handed out of a history of 10 years of claims prior to them becoming our agent, our previous agent was filing a claim with every single incident that was reported.
Now, I just need you to mention your recommendation.
Okay,
She did.
all right.
And what was taken is it was a non-binding
Right.
recommendation. And the committee members in attendance voted for to recommend, one against, and one abstain. There were no names recorded on who voted anyway, because it was just a recommendation. So those members in attendance recommended to stay with Assured Partners.
Yes,
Rod,
John.
go ahead.
If Monica's fine with it and David and the other 4 people were fine with it, I'm fine with it. So I make a motion that we accept them.
Well, if you don't
Too
have
late
enough-
now, it's already done.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't done, it hasn't been voted
No,
on.
no, but you don't have enough people.
Yeah, we have a quorum.
You
No.
do.
Yeah.
So I say, I make a motion that we accept them.
Second.
The decision has already been made, there's nothing to vote on. Gentlemen, there's nothing to vote on, the decision was made.
Monica
The
said,
presentation of the operations committee and the officers met last week. We did not have a quorum,
Right.
and a decision was already made, there is nothing to vote on. You missed the vote you should have wanted to vote, you should have been there last week. Go ahead, Dave.
Counselor, technically, you're not correct on that,
Yeah, I took the
because we couldn't conduct business. But Monica, I think, is asking us for a vote at this.
I would like an official vote from the committee because
Whatever we did was not, couldn't.
it wasn't,
Right.
like you said, it wasn't binding because there wasn't a quorum.
Right.
But you're asking people that were not at the meeting, that didn't hear the presentation, to vote on something they know nothing at all about.
But they're supposed to go by our
So unless they
recommendation.
abstain from voting, they can't vote.
That's what part of my emotion was. If Monica's happy with it and the 4 people that was here is happy with it, I say we accept it.
And that's up to everybody individually.
That's correct.
You know,
Okay.
that's,
Let-
if
I'm
somebody
gonna
wants
give you a scenario. Suppose the vote says they don't want assured partners.
Then we have a big meeting and we all talk it out again.
Monica has already contacted them, right?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay.
No,
Sorry.
no, and
What's the problem?
I emailed Tom yesterday and told him what took place after he left, and told him that there was our monthly meeting today, at which a decision would be made, and I did not hear back from him.
Okay.
There's a motion on the
Still?
floor.
I apologize.
I thought when we met last week that we would recommend to accept Phil Massey because those of us were there and approved it, and it would just be to vote on it, yes, but we would tell the people who weren't there that this is what the 4 of us already approved.
It's exactly what we're doing, but we're now telling people that to vote on something that they weren't there.
But we're making our recommendation, so they're gonna vote on whether they like our recommendation. No?
Do what you want to do.
I don't know, I could be wrong.
There's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded.
We do have a quorum, right? Yes.
Yes.
Let's take the vote. Take the vote with.
The motion hasn't been withdrawn.
The chairman is not asking for a vote.
If we have a motion and we have a second, would you please read the motion? I apologize.
so the chairperson, not you.
That's me.
John Hess made
Gregg.
a motion,
Not John Gregg.
I'm sorry, John Gregg.
Oh, I got
It's
it.
actually
John Gregg made a motion, was seconded by Ruth Dries, to accept Assured Partners for our insurance agent for WPRF.
No, I'm not, because it was.
Is there any further discussion?
Call the vote. Call
Okay.
So we-
I know.
Fausto,
No.
Patricia,
Yes.
David?
Yes.
I am going to vote yes. John Gregg,
Yes.
Ruth Dries,
Yes.
Joyce Reese,
Yes.
John Hess,
Yes.
Bobby Levin,
Yes.
David Furness,
Yes.
and the motion carries.
Bang.
Thank you, guys. Anything else?
That's it?
No, I'm done.
Eva, one question I have. Who is in charge of the library?
The woman is, she heads up the volunteers, so I oversee the library.
Yeah, who's the head volunteer there?
Well, her name is Sephora.
I'll tell you, they do a really nice,
Isn't it fantastic?
It's
There's
beautiful.
that space down there. We're getting more compliments on that library.
very nice.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Don't do anymore, they don't come.
Yes, John.
Can I make a motion, we go home?
I second it.
Oh, Dan has something to
Well,
say.
I just want to give you, I forgot to put an update for that we had voted to move forward and
the renovation of the Hastings locker rooms, okay, I had to put a little bit of a hold on that due to the fact that the sauna needed to be permitted also. So we're putting a revision in for the ladies sauna to be put inside there. As soon as we get that way, because that's gonna take a good 6 to 8 weeks to get. So I didn't want to start the job and just wait. So
Okay.
we'll keep it open until we have the order in, and then we'll start the project somewhere where there's only a couple weeks left for getting the product.
Okay,
All right? Thank you.
thank you.
Yes, I think so.
We have a motion, we have a second. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Yes.
So how busy are you gonna be the next week or so?
Well, this,